Good morning, everyone. It's Michelle Hill with Southern Inspirations. Happy Thursday morning. The sun is shining in Central Arkansas, and I'm excited. I'm going to get outdoors later and enjoy it. This morning, my special guest is Laura Iverson. Good morning, Laura. Good to see you. Absolutely. Y'all, it seems like we have a little bit of a delay this morning, but we're going to push through. I've noticed just a couple little times that it seems to be bleeping out, kind of, but we're gonna just push through and do the best we can.
Yep.
Laura and I met a few months ago through just one of the local women's groups in Little Rock. And we knew immediately that at some point we would be doing something together, right, Laura?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a great coffee meeting a couple different times, and with between my love for nonprofits and my background in marketing and advertising, and Laura, your love and very closely strategic work with nonprofits and your work as a business consultant, we just knew that there was something here. So here we are, and today's topic is about closing the gaps, specifically between the business community and the nonprofits. And Laura, like you and I talked about the other day when we were prepping for this, during a crisis when for-profit and nonprofit organizations and individuals for that matter, where we're all looking at where are the what do we need to do differently moving forward? Nonprofits immediately arise to the top of the conversation for some very specific reasons, right? But before we get into that, y'all, I want you to know a little bit more about Laura. So, Laura, just introduce yourself. Give us just your background, and then we'll just kind of dive right in.
Thank you, Michelle. So I am, as you mentioned, a business consultant and strategist. I started out actually in teaching. I still teach, but I teach something different. I teach business to rising professionals. So either they are coming out of their bachelor career. I started out teaching business just undergrad, but now I teach those who are going into graduate programs. So I really love being able to share the joys of entrepreneurship because I had spent several years, 10 years of my career altogether, just serving in nonprofits in all capacities. Like I was the person, the director, the babysitter, the van driver, whatever they
uh,
needed me to be.
yeah,
Um, on top of trying to find strategies for my clients. So I
right.
get a little bit of balance between the two, but I saw for myself that during this time that I did not have as heavy of an impact as some of my other colleagues who do consulting or coaching and things like that because I went exclusively online the latter part of last year.
Right. Yeah, I remember us talking about that. Thank you so much for that. So, as you began to dig deeper, you mentioned the impact that you had. As you began to dig deeper and just research into specific needs of nonprofits and even before this crisis right now, Laura, even before then, what was some of the items or the gaps, if you will, that you identified specifically in nonprofit? Obviously, we all know, it goes without saying, that regardless of the services that a 501c3 provides, they need volunteers, they need they need best business practices just like a regular organization does. But what was some of the core things that kind of rose to the top that lit that light bulb for you and was like, we really need to address this?
The first thing that I saw that came to the top is really like the sleeping giant, so to speak. And that's when the nonprofit community is very competitive for the same funds, or they're competitive with for-profit entities that may be serving the same demographic. So there's the one big gap there. When there's a lot of separations and serving communities at large have been through the innovation that nonprofit and for-profits take. You see a lot of programs even designed. City Connections is a great example. They connect for-profit and nonprofit entities all the time because they know that the
Right.
need is bigger than just writing a grant or being able to have a fundraiser. Sometimes it requires volunteers. Sometimes if you have an overstock of produce or goods that you're like, we're just going to throw it out anyway, there's a program that probably needs that. Maybe
Right.
you're interested in starting a nonprofit. Instead of going out and starting one, have you considered connecting with a nonprofit that already speaks to something that's important to you? So that's the first thing that really came to the surface for me. And I feel that in times like this is where you really see that divide even largely so, because a lot of nonprofits, not saying it's something I recommend, a lot of nonprofits depend on this time of year to build their financial nest for the next fiscal year. So that's
Right.
grant writing, that's like fundraising galas, that's all types of stuff. Like they're trying to get together. So they
Right.
come together for that purpose, and this pandemic happens. So while they would typically be focused on getting money to serve more people in the next few months, they are actually serving more people than they had money for right now.
Yeah, yeah. And the other day, as you and I were visiting specifically to what we are all going through right now, in addition to just those everyday ongoing needs that they face, this has brought it to a whole new level. And you and I specifically discussed, y'all, excuse me just a second, I've got a little allergy going on. Nose, I apologize for that. A little drippy nose there. Um, and I almost hesitate to use this term, Laura, but it just kind of is what it is. And you and I talked about it, and it's the haves versus have-nots.
Mm-hmm.
And before we get into that, y'all, Laura, neither one of us mean any disrespect. We're not trying to facilitate any sort of divide or foster anything that type of conversation here. But what we do want to do is bring a heightened awareness. And the specific example that you and I talked about, Laura, and I know you can give some more, is something as simple as what we are doing right now, which is a video capability. The video capability comes through access to the internet. So you have all these students from schools, you have children and adults, people of all ages who perhaps were being served by a nonprofit organization, who have been catapulted into a virtual environment. And many of the services that now have to be provided virtually, there are individuals out there, as sad as it is, it's reality. There are individuals out there who we believe are being underserved because of the lack of fill in the blank, whatever it is. Now, with that said, this kind of rewinds a little bit to what we were just talking about a second ago, and that's this having this marriage, if you will, of the business community, the for-profits, recognizing the need and coming together with identifying what those are and then putting them in place. And I do know that we have companies that are doing that. Comcast, for example, has opened up internet access for everyone for a certain number of days. Fidelity Communications has put in place hotspots. That's just two that come to mind. So we do want to acknowledge and appreciate and thank those companies who are stepping up to the plate. But with that said, Laura, what you and I talked about are the opportunities right now for nonprofits to identify what those things are and make plans now, right, for a continuity plan. If there wasn't a continuity plan in place before, they certainly need one now, or it at least needs tweaking, right?
Yes, and I'm so glad you brought that up because I've been heavy on Facebook probably more than I typically would over the past few days, just seeing some of the advice that's been going out over the airways during this time.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, the government is going to do all these great things and it's going to help you out and you're going to get this in a few weeks. And so what you need to do now is build your brand and your Facebook page, things like that. So for the nonprofit community, that's really not a feasible plan for them. Because as you mentioned, the individuals that they were serving, they were connecting with, all those things halted overnight. And
Right.
instead of them coming up with a new business plan, that continuity plan is really what they need. It's like, okay, this is the time we have this space. It's like, we're not going to make new programs. We're not going to design new stuff. We're going to have an actual audit of what we've been doing so far. How effective was it? And what areas of need did we not notice before until this happened? Because a lot of times you may get into the routine of like, well, we always have kids, come to the after school program. We always have hungry people that we're feeding. We're always having this or that, fill in the blank. So the same way with for-profits, you're still making sales. The doors are still open, but are you really generating revenue? So it's the same thing with nonprofits, is that the day to day is a false positive of what actually is recurring, and you don't know until a crisis happens or you're in a pickle and you need to kind of figure things out fast because you haven't built that continuity plan of how you move forward. What if, and this actually happened to a client of mine, what if your entire building floods? And this was not like any flood. It was like the Great Flood, and it required a whole specialized team of people to come in and not only clean the facility and sanitize it, but they actually had to repair walls. So that entire time that was being assessed, they could not meet the needs of their community. There are people that use that facility day in, day out, Monday through Sunday.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what did they do? But during that crisis, it brought up a lot of great conversations about, okay, what if this had been something else that happened? Do we have certain protocols in place? How could we have gotten this information to our schools faster because they had an after school program? How could we have contacted counselors faster? How could we have gotten in touch with families faster? How could we, navigate these new terrains? So I think that instead of taking this as we have no resources, evaluating the resources that you do have and what's applicable and how you can best connect with other community partners that can fulfill that. Because something else that people don't think about, some people have, and I'll get to that example in a minute, is that for some of these nonprofit and for-profits, they're really getting a lot of difficult decisions that they have to make right now, not due to lack of people to serve or people willing to be served, but this whole pandemic has affected freight and shipment, how fast you can get supplies to your facility for things. So some of the local partners, one that comes to mind, Healthy Chew, is a meal prep service. They've been providing meal prep to one of the nonprofits, the van, to service its people that are, shelter in place. So those are the types of connections that fill into that gap, because they could be waiting forever for certain things.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you so much for that. So y'all, kind of I guess the point or the awareness that Laura and I together want to bring is that, everybody knows now more than ever that plans need to be put in place. Again, there's just this heightened awareness. Laura specifically, just with her years of having that strategic approach, that consultant approach, y'all, she's able to go into nonprofits and to break it down. You've mentioned several examples there, Laura, of what if your building floods? What if this? What if there's a shortage of that? It's almost those things that, it's like my daughter and I were discussing early this morning. It's almost surreal, Laura, because you hear about things and it happens in other countries, right? Or other people, and we make this assumption that it will not happen to us in our lifetimes. It won't happen to our businesses. Well, guess what? Here we all are. Here we are. So Mine and Laura's hearts, y'all, are to continue to work to close the gap between the business community, those for-profit organizations, corporations, and the nonprofit organizations, to identify needs that go beyond, well beyond donations, galas. All those things are wonderful, and they need to continue. But in breaking it down and looking at a one by one, what is the plan, so that there's already this partnership, so that a for-profit can step in, can just boom, step in, and like a true partnership. If
Yeah.
almost like, if this happens, you are my partner for profit. So we are working together specifically, tirelessly, to make that happen. Laura is more from that strategic, sitting down, having those conversations. I come alongside her, and then I help tell the story. I'm constantly looking for those for-profit or the for-profit businesses that might make sense to come alongside the nonprofits that she's working with. So, y'all, we truly are just in this space where both of our hearts are aligned, trying to close that gap. Is that fair, Laura? What do you have to add to that?
Nothing. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I have nothing more to add. I think that's a beautiful description.
Oh, thank you. So we've got just 3 or 4 minutes left here in our time together. Laura, what are some things that you think folks can do today? You know, as folks have watched this during this broadcast, as they'll pick it up later, as you and I both share, what are some practical things that you think business leaders, be it an executive director at a nonprofit agency, or a CEO or marketing director at a for-profit, what do you think are some things that folks can do, like right now, without even waiting till this is over?
The best example is to take what you already do and see who's been looking for that need to be filled. Maybe your demographic, like my nonprofits are busy saving the world right now. So, but I never thought that, okay, a business curriculum that I created I think 3 or more years ago would be something that parents would have wanted for me to teach to their kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not my typical client, but you know what? I teach business. I'm a business educator. That doesn't change. So my greatest advice is, don't ever think that because in times of crisis and there's a lot of uncertainty that you need to reinvent yourself. That's not what these times call for. It's calling for you to be who you are authentically and show up
Yes.
in the world and make offer accessible to those who need it. So I'm making myself accessible as possible to those who need those who need business education, not because I'm looking for a sale or you are my typical. That's what I am. I'm a business strategist. I'm a business educator all day, every day. So whoever needs that, I'm going to be making myself available. And I believe that all of my colleagues, Michelle included, would say the same.
Absolutely. I love that. And that was beautifully said as well. I cannot think of any better advice. And Laura, I speak that same thing every day. This platform talks so much about taking your existing passion, skills, talents, abilities, and aligning that with your purpose. And that creates inspiration, that creates goodness and kindness and more purpose, and it inspires others to go out and follow theirs. So Laura, you are exactly right. This isn't a time to go, oh my gosh, let me go start something completely new that's outside of my scope. What do I have I've already been operating in within my gifts, but how can I offer more of that to the world right now in a way that brings hope, in a way that brings healing, and just continued goodness as we all work together to get through this. Good stuff. Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate our new friendship, our new partnership as we work together. Thank you to everyone who joined this morning. Please share. We want the world to know what we are collectively doing, our unified goal to close this gap. And we've not even used that phrase, flatten the curve,
Yeah.
but it fits right in as we are working together to flatten the curve on the spread of coronavirus. We're also working together to flatten the curve in lack. And that's really, lack can take on very different forms, right? And so we're going to keep working together. So again, thank you all for following Southern Inspirations, for partnering with me as I continue to share good stories and partner with great business folks, like Laura. Laura, thank you again. Everybody have a wonderful day. And please do make a note to tune in tomorrow. As you know, Fruitful Friday is at 1:00. And I have a guest who is going to be talking about video. We're all using it right now, and we're going to share some best practices and talk about equipment and different platforms that you can use and stuff like that. So it's going to be a good one. All right, y'all. Y'all have a wonderful day. Laura, I will see you again soon, friend.
All right. Bye. Have a great day, guys.
All right.